Oh, there we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, my laptop lagged there. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in to a virtual program with the Schaumburg Library. I first want to take a moment to thank all of our patrons for pivoting and rolling with us. We appreciate your patience and your just your kindness in the shift to this afternoon from this morning. That was you were all very wonderful with that. For all of you who maybe know someone who wasn't able to attend this afternoon, you can assure them that this is being recorded and they will get a link to that recording at the end of today's program. Before I hand things over to our friends at the Village of Schaumburg for another session of their Speakers Bureau, just a few of our friendly Zoom reminders. Our first big thing is your cameras and microphones are turned off. So if at any point during the program you need assistance with technical difficulties, you can reach out to me using the Q&A, as somebody already has. Oh, someone isn't able to hear me. If anyone's having issues with volume, you might want to check your computer settings. You can also switch over to YouTube, where this is being live streamed. If you sometimes Zoom is just weird and difficult, you can go over to the Schaumburg Library's YouTube account, just type in YouTube Schaumburg Library, pull it up. You'll see us live streaming right out the gate, and that might be a neat, quick and easy fix for you. So see, someone already knows oh my gosh, the procedures here. Goodness gracious, my brain is not working today. Let me just quickly chat to this patron who I realize I give this explanation to and they can't hear me. Um, so your cameras and microphones off. If you have any technical difficulties, if you could just use the Q&A to go back and forth with me. We also have our closed captions enabled, so you can turn those on or off as you wish using your Zoom toolbar. It's another great thing. If all of a sudden the sound goes out too, the closed captions will always be picking up what we're saying. And we will take questions at the end of the program. So you're welcome to submit questions as we go, but we will take those at the end. And those are all of my friendly reminders. Now, without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Cassandra Schreff. Oh my gosh, cannot talk anymore. Cassandra Schreff, who is our Director of Communications for the Village of Schaumburg. Cassandra?
Okay, thank you. Thanks everyone for being here today and for joining us as part of the Village of Schaumburg Speakers Bureau program. The goal of this program is to connect residents with village staff and give a behind-the-scenes look at the services, programs, and work happening throughout the community. Today's topic is emergency preparedness and weather safety, something that affects all of us here in the Midwest. We're excited to have Tracy Raimondo, the Village of Schaumburg's Emergency Management and Resilience Manager, here to talk about how the village prepares for severe weather and emergencies, what residents should know, and how everyone can stay safe and informed. So with that, Tracy, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Cassandra. Can everybody hear me? Cassandra, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. So welcome, everyone. My name is Tracy Raimondo. I'm going to be going over the emergency preparedness for the village. To me, this is the most important topic anyone could present because this is my role, and I think it applies to every single one of us in the community. So let's just get started here. So who am I? Well, I already told you my name's Tracy Raimondo. What I am is the emergency manager, and I know a lot of you don't even know what that is. We're going to go over that here in a second. Where it's for the village, but I also help some surrounding communities, and I do it when all the time. So we have disasters in this state. Every season we have something, and we're going to go over that. And why I do it, it's not that I love disaster. I know some people would say, Tracy, you love disaster. I do not love disaster, but I do love preparing for and responding to help mitigate disaster. So that is why I do what I do. So what is emergency management? I think this is a very difficult topic to explain because when we think of emergencies in the community, we think of the fire department, we think of the police department, and they respond to traffic accidents and medical emergencies, fires, hazmat situations, chemical spills, theft and burglaries and crime in general. But my role is not those smaller emergencies, not that those are small in any case, but those are isolated. My role is more disaster planning. So I am the one who does the tornado management, the planning for tornadoes, microbursts, severe storms of all kinds, heat disasters, cold disasters. I'm the one responsible for COVID. I mean, I'm not responsible for COVID, but I'm the one who actually helped mitigate our response with COVID. Also, I do training for the village, for village staff on how to respond to disasters. I also train the public. So twice a year, I do an emergency preparedness workshop, and I'm sure some of you have actually attended that. And we do that in the spring and we do that in the fall. I am the FEMA representative for the village, so any coordination with FEMA is going through me, and that includes FEMA grants to help us prepare for and respond to emergencies. I do our recovery operations, and again, this is where grants also comes in. So if there is a disaster, then our recovery operations is how to get the village up and running once again. So all of our services to be available is part of recovery. I also do incident response. So when there is an emergency, I help coordinate the large-scale response. When there's a large-scale response, we're not talking about just police. We're not talking about just fire or public works. We're talking about the entire village as a whole. So for incident response with emergency management, we're talking about all of the village functions, including finance, our village manager, our community development department, EPW, engineering and public works, police department, fire department, our Prairie Center, our cultural arts department, communications, etc. So incident response is going to incorporate all of those things together so that we can respond to a giant incident. So let's talk about planning here for a second. Emergency planning. That is the biggest part of what I do, emergency planning for those disasters that we talked about. And what does that mean? Emergency planning is going to incorporate, evacuation planning. So if we have to evacuate the community or a section of the community, how are we going to do that? It incorporates our sheltering program. If we need to shelter a certain number of residents, where are the shelters going to be located? How do we staff the shelters? What are the rules and guidelines for the shelters? Do we have facility agreements with certain facilities to open a shelter? What else for emergency planning? How we're going to respond to the incident? What our communications are going to be? What radio channels we're going to use? Or how we're going to communicate to the public? So Cassandra's job is communicating all our emergency messages to the public. How are we going to get those messages to you is one of the things that we plan. So emergency planning scopes all hazards, which means we have a single guide that we can reference that will span any hazard that the community comes in contact with. So we use that general guideline, and then we build off of the plan. So the general guideline, the all hazards guide that we utilize is called our emergency operations plan. And again, it's all hazards. So it doesn't matter if we have an earthquake here or a tornado or COVID, we respond using the same exact plan as the foundation. And then we build based off of the actual disaster itself. What else do we do? Continuity planning. This is more for the business side. So continuity planning is different. Continuity planning has to do with how we keep the village operating. So how do we keep the village doing health inspections? How do we keep the village doing permits, our business licenses, all our village operations, the announcements, the communications? How do you pay your water bill if we are not up and running? So it's the continuity and the succession planning of the village business side of things. Recovery planning. Recovery is a big deal. If anybody remembers COVID, which I'm sure everybody does, recovery is getting everything within the community up and running again, not just the village, but all the businesses and helping them, assisting them to recover, all the residents, helping them to recover. So recovery planning spans rebuilding, reopening, and getting things back to normal. What else it does is we utilize FEMA for recovery planning because FEMA does a public assistance grant and it helps to reimburse for emergencies and disasters. So that is my job as well. I will contact FEMA and we will work together to help reimburse and help the village stabilize when it comes to the financial side. What else do? I do crisis management. So this is more of just an auxiliary function. I help the schools, the churches, internal staff. We work on different disasters within those buildings. I help them review their plans, make sure their plans are sound. I help to create drills, evacuation drills. I invite them to some of the classes so that we can share, because the more information we share together, the better we are. We need to know what each other's doing. We need to invite each other to those conversations, and we need to involve each other in the exercises and drills. And then we will all be on the same page. So when something happens, we know what one is doing and they know what we are doing. The other thing I do is special event safety and security. So as you know, we do have a September Fest that spans Labor Day weekend. And I am the planning section chief for special events and safety of the event. And planning for that, it takes probably 8 months out of the year. So it's a lot bigger deal than people think. So I do coordinate the special event safety and security. Again, village response with FEMA, sheltering. We do heating and cooling shelters. I monitor for severe weather. Large-scale disasters in the FEMA and IEMA liaison. That's the Illinois Emergency Management Agency. All right, so now we're going to talk about seasonal weather hazards. As you can see, you are here. You're in Illinois, and I am sorry. The reason I am sorry is because while Illinois does not have hurricanes, and we really don't have too many brush fires, we pretty much have every other disaster. So we have tornadoes. We have severe weather, microburst blizzards. We have droughts, floods. You know, you name it, we have it. We even have earthquakes. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but we do live close to a major fault line, such a big fault line that last time it shook, which was hundreds of years ago, thank goodness. But last time it shook, it was felt all the way up in New York City. So we do live on a pretty significant fault line. Luckily, it is dormant at this time, but we do have the possibility of getting an earthquake. So just keep that in mind. All right, so why do we live here? I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, flooding, extreme heat, humidity, hail, microburst, tornadoes, snow, blizzards, ice storms, extreme cold, extreme wind, we have it all. So let's talk about some of these things. And I'm not going to talk about them as in, you know, I know you guys know what kind of hazards are. I know you know what flooding is. I know you know what extreme heat is, but the significance of this is how often we actually see it. Just because you do not personally experience it does not mean Schaumburg has not experienced it. And so I think it's important to realize that just because you personally have not had to go through a disaster, it doesn't mean somebody in Schaumburg has not had it. So that's why it's important. So flooding, for example, this was more in the area, not necessarily for us specifically. But April 13th through 17th of this year, we had the Fox Des Plaines and the Rock Rivers flooded. January 8th through 9th of the same year, we had a rare winter flash flood. July 15th of 2023, northeastern Illinois, and July 4th through 5th, northern Illinois. So Schaumburg specific, July 21st through 22nd of 2017, we had major damage, road closures, flooded vehicles, and submerged parks. I'm going to play a video here for you. Hopefully you can see it.
Meantime, northwest suburban Schaumburg was hit pretty hard today. Chopper 2 over the scene of flooded streets and other areas with trees blown over that smashed into homes. Power is out for thousands across our area.
Hey, Tracy, the PowerPoint stayed up. The video didn't switch over like it did when we rehearsed it.
Okay.
If you just want to,
Can you see it now or no?
no, you might want to just close out of the PowerPoint and pull up the video.
Okay.
You might need to reshare your screen. That might be it. Reshare your
Okay.
screen to the video itself.
All right. Thank you for that heads up. Can you see this?
No.
No,
There we go. You're good.
you're good? Okay. All right, let's try this again.
Was hit pretty hard today. Chopper 2 over the scene of flooded streets and other areas with trees blown over that smashed into homes. Power is out for thousands across our area.
CBS 2's Dana Kozloff is on the ground in Schaumburg.
Robin, Erica, another storm with lightning has put cleanup here in the Schaumburg subdivision on hold. And when all of this finally ends, there will be a lot of cleanup left. Rows of trees snapping, flash floods detouring all but this FedEx truck, and hail pummeling subdivisions. That's how Friday's rush hour ended in Schaumburg.
And my wife frantically called saying there's hail damaging our house, trees are falling down, shrubbery, landscaping, it's gone. Our car was all dented.
Kent Sam and his daughter Savannah were in Michigan when they got that call from his wife. AJ Bolano was in a pickup truck when ice balls literally started falling from the sky. He shot it on his phone. It was that crazy?
It's that crazy. It was, I can't even describe it. It's like rock size hail. And I was scared to at least just get out of the vehicle.
People who live in the subdivision say there was so much hail at 5:45, it was still here like this more than an hour and a half later. There were other concerns too, like a possible gas leak off Roselle Road.
Upon inspection, we found a tree had fallen on a small gas pipe, and that course on the way to make repairs.
Damage is fairly widespread here, but Captain Nelson says no injuries as far as he knows. You guys really busy right now?
We are very busy.
One of the bigger storms you've seen in a while?
Yeah, it's a good one.
There is talk that a microburst might have gone through this area earlier today, but that is still trying to be definitively determined. In Schaumburg, Dana Kopp.
Okay. So let me get back to the PowerPoint. And they mentioned a microburst, and I know we haven't talked about that, but we will talk about that, so don't worry. So I'm hoping everybody could see the flooding PowerPoint again.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. All right. So let's move on to extreme heat. If anybody remembers 1995, we had a temperature of 106 degrees with a heat index of 125. Now, I understand that is rare, but 1995, while it was a long time ago, it wasn't that long ago. And we had 250 people die in 24 hours in the Chicagoland area. 250 people in 24 hours. Over 739 people died over 3 to 4 days. I'll get back to that in a second. So this was so extreme, this extreme heat, because not only is the temperature 106, the heat index, it feels like 125 degrees. The problem with the temperature getting up this high is that your air conditioning can't keep up with it. The power grid can't keep up with the demand for air conditioning. And also a lot of the people that ended up dying were elderly persons who were in their residence who did not have power, and then they were reluctant to open their windows, open their doors because they were afraid of crime. And so they ended up just sitting in their apartments, and the humidity and the heat just overtook them. It was a horrible disaster, and a lot of people died just from heat alone. So heat is not to be reckoned with. It is a significant hazard that we do see. Humidity, we talk about the humidity. So the body cools itself by sweating, and the evaporation causes that cooling effect. When the humidity is really high, it doesn't allow the body to do that. So when people begin to feel the humidity, the dew point is about 60s. Dew point temperatures in the 70s are rare, but that's when you start to get really uncomfortable. And during July in 1995, the dew point was in the upper 70s and lower 80s, which is really unprecedented for our area. However, it does happen, and it's going to feel just stifling in those ranges of 70s to 80s. All right, let's talk about hail. That hail ball you see in the picture is actually from our area, or not our area, but specifically not Schaumburg, but our general area. So hail, 6.14 inches, and that's the ball you're seeing in their hand, and that was in Kankakee just 2 months ago. All right, March 10th, 2026. Minooka, June 10th, 2015, 4.75 inches. So this is devastating, damaging hail. March 10th, 2026, event details. Several stones measured between 5 and 6.14 inches. That's about the size of a baseball for hail. The hardest hit areas were Kankakee campus and Buckingham, but we did see some hail out this direction. I know we did see hail just a little bit smaller than a golf ball in Elk Grove and a couple of the surrounding towns. So this is considered one of the most significant and destructive hail events in Illinois history, and it just happened this year. So our chances of severe weather, if you haven't noticed, have been increasing. Every year we get more and more severe weather. The sirens are going off more and more. Everything is occurring just a little bit more when it comes to our severe threat. It's something to be on the lookout for. Microburst. A lot of people haven't heard of a microburst. A lot of people don't understand what a microburst is, but this visual here can kind of give you an idea. It is a localized, intense downdraft with a thunderstorm. It hits the ground and spreads out in all directions. It's called straight line winds, and they can be 150 miles per hour. So I want you to think about a tornado has that rotating effect, right? While a tornado has the rotating effect, this is more a large vertical cloud that when it comes down, it doesn't do a rotation. It just shoots the wind straight down in one location on the ground. So that video we just watched, that was confirmed a little later on that was indeed a microburst. So we had a significant microburst in Schaumburg in 2017. And that microburst caused millions of damage to a whole block. It just went straight down a single block and destroyed everything in its path. So again, July 2017, we had a microburst, and you can visually see in this picture, that is all the wind just shooting down from the cloud in one direct hit on a city or on a geographic area. So July 2017, and we had a small one again, August of 2025, and that's just last year. Tornado, I think most of us in this area know what a tornado is, a violent rotating column of air touching the ground attached to a thunderstorm. Typically, it is at the end of a thunderstorm, so that's interesting. I don't know if anybody knew that, but after a tornado hits, you almost always see sunny skies afterwards. So it's a nice clear blue sky right after the tornado hits, and that's because usually it tails on the end of a thunderstorm. Illinois ranks #1 for 2026 for tornadoes. So we are not typically #1 in the whole country for tornadoes, but in 2026 we are #1. In 2025 we finished #2, just behind Texas. So we are setting records here year after year for the past few years. Our normal average is 50 to 60 per year, but beginning in 2023, 24, 25, and 26, we have had over 100. So we are increasing, which experts say old Tornado Valley or Tornado Alley, as you can see in the red, has now shifted, and now they're predicting this new yellow area is the new Tornado Alley. So it's getting a little scary. We've never set off our sirens, like I said, as much as we have lately. If we average 50 to 60 and now we're getting over 100, we're doubling our tornado threat in this area. So if you wonder why your insurance costs are going up, this would be one of the reasons. So we did have a tornado. We had 2 EF0s in June of 2022. And EF0, the scale goes from 0 to 5, 5 being the worst with over 200 mile an hour winds. We had 2 EF0s, which while they're not significant on the Fujita scale, they're the lowest, they are still significant, and they can give you 95 mile an hour winds. So let's talk about snow and blizzards. I gave a couple definitions here because sometimes people aren't really sure what is the difference. And they've been throwing in new things like ground blizzards, bomb cyclones, things that we've never really heard of in the past that they're now starting to announce on the weather. So a blizzard, in order to be classified a blizzard, you have to have sustained winds or frequent gusts that are at least 35 miles per hour. The visibility has to be less than a quarter mile, and it has to last for 3 hours. The snow occurs with falling snow or blowing snow. So if you have wind gusts that are 35 miles an hour, but either the visibility is too much or there's not enough snow, then you're not going to have a blizzard. It has to be at least 35-mile-an-hour winds, reduced visibility, last 3 hours, and be accompanied with falling snow. Blowing snow is called a ground blizzard. So a ground blizzard occurs when there is no new snowfall, but whatever has fallen, the winds lift and create a whiteout condition. So that's what they call a ground blizzard. So this is the newest one, a bomb cyclone. A bomb cyclone, it sounds worse than it is, but it is an explosive intensification that occurs in the winter. So you're going to get heavy blizzard-like conditions, damaging winds, hurricane force winds, and it's going to be fast. It's going to be a little bit, you're going to see it, and then it's going to intensify really quick. It's not going to intensify over hours. It's going to intensify over 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and it's going to come fast and it's going to leave fast. So that's what a bomb cyclone is. Ice storms. So February 22, 23 of 2023, we had a significant winter storm, brought heavy freezing rain to northern Illinois, causing ice accumulation across the region. In 2019 of February, we had another one with strong damaging winds. It impacted trees and power lines. So if anybody's ever witnessed a significant ice storm, ice accumulates on power lines, on any kind of wires hanging, cable lines, anything that's outside, and it just becomes so heavy as it freezes, and it just starts to pull things down. That's why trees are so damaging with freezing rain and ice accumulating on the branches. It could take down whole, like 5-inch branches if the ice accumulates enough. Ice is heavy. It's going to take down anything that it accumulates on, and it's just going to keep bearing more and more weight. And the more ice you get, the more accumulates, because now it has a base and it just starts to grow off that base, just like an icicle does. So when it comes to ice storms, the biggest problem you have is the power lines and losing power, and then the tree branches, and they're going to cause a lot of destruction if they fall on houses, if they fall in the roads, and things like that. In January of 1994, we did have a severe ice storm in the Chicago suburbs, including Schaumburg, Hoffman, and Elgin. Up to 40,000 ComEd customers lost power, and the damage was so severe that the local officials declared a weather emergency. We do have significant ice storms here. Again, those are also becoming more and more common. And if you lose power, I just did a presentation on this, so I recommend you come to the emergency preparedness workshops, but a long-term power outage, this wasn't long-term. We did have 40,000 customers who lost power, and it was restored within a day or two. But long-term power outages, if it's more impacting larger scale on the community, I mean, you're losing heat. So if there's ice outside, it's going to be cold. You're losing heat. You're losing your refrigeration. Your food can spoil. There's so many things that can go wrong. Ice storms are very important. Extreme cold. January 2019, we got as low as -23. Wind chill hazard, January of 2024. We got a record wind chill of -37 degrees. Our coldest month is often January, and the official Chicago record low is -27 in 1985 with wind chills of -57. I think I was standing on the bus stop about then. Extreme cold, again, same thing with the ice. Extreme cold's going to knock out power. You're going to have a lot of issues with communication. Cell towers. How many of us have cell phones? Pretty much everybody. The cell towers only have a little bit of a battery backup. and they don't last forever. They're going to get clogged with traffic, people trying to get through. So extreme cold can knock out communications. It can knock out power. They are pretty significant. Extreme wind. June 2022, we've had 80-mile-per-hour winds. In July of 2017, when we had that microburst, like I said, 94-mile-per-hour winds were documented. So 94 miles an hour. That is pretty significant. All right, let's talk about advisories, watches, and warnings. So these get a little bit confusing. I know a lot of people have questions on these. I get plenty of phone calls. Advisory is really the one that confuses most people. And it's because it's a little bit newer. It's probably within the last 10 years or so, we started getting advisories. And advisories are similar to watches, but not. An advisory is issued when the weather event's occurring, if it's imminent or very likely. So it's going to cause you to be inconvenienced, and it might be a little dangerous or hazardous, but it's not going to be life-threatening. So an advisory is just advising the public that keep your eyes open. There might be something coming. It might cause an issue, but it's really not life-threatening. It's nothing you have to concern yourself with, but you just want to be on the lookout. A watch means conditions are favorable for a hazardous weather event. It doesn't mean it's going to happen right now. It doesn't mean it will ever happen. It just says that the ingredients are there. And so you see my little graphic off to the side here. Taco watch, all the ingredients are on the table. There aren't any tacos yet, but there could be some soon. So same thing with a tornado, right? Tornado, all the ingredients are put together. The dew point, the heat, the cold, the pressure in the air, everything, all the ingredients are there to create a tornado. And that would be a tornado watch. It could possibly happen because we have all the ingredients to create that tornado. It doesn't become a warning until we actually create the taco, put all the ingredients together, and it forms an actual taco. Or for the tornado, all the ingredients come together and we actually get the tornado. So we actually have the rotation, the tornado comes down, and that is a warning. So let's talk about advisory examples. We've seen a few of these. A winter weather advisory. These are issued for any kind of winter hazard, snow, sleet, freezing rain. It meets the advisory criteria, but they're not really severe enough for a warning or a watch. It's just, be advised, we're going to get a little bit of freezing rain. Be advised, we're going to get a little bit of snow, maybe an inch or two. The freezing rain advisory, it's usually up to 1/4 of an inch. They consider that a trace amount. So you can still get slick roadways, you can still get slick sidewalks, but it's nothing too bad, and usually it's going to melt fairly soon. A cold weather advisory, formerly called a wind chill advisory, for those of us that are old enough to remember. It's issued when the temperatures or wind chills are expected to be potentially dangerous. So you're talking between 0 and -10. And that happens, January, February, we're typically around there. A frost advisory is just issued during the growing season. So that's a lot of times for farmers, for gardeners, when the frost is expected to kill the crops. They just give a general advisory, hey, we could have a frost. And a lot of farmers, a lot of gardeners, they pay attention to that. Typically, the temperature is 33 degrees to 36 degrees. So some of the thresholds here, you'll see there's a lot of graphics on the weather right now. So the National Weather Service comes out with a lot of graphics. They'll say we're at severe weather threat level 1 or severe weather threat level 2. Typically, we're in the green or the yellow. And to understand this, I think the biggest confusing part is we start from 0. So a normal thunderstorm is 0. All right, it's just a thunderstorm. It's light green, and it's a very low impact. You're going to get some lightning, a little bit of flooding, nothing horrible. You're going to have winds probably around 40 miles an hour, maybe some little pea-sized hail, pebble-sized hail. And then you move up to level 1. So level 1 technically is level 2. It's isolated severe storm threat. It's going to be short-lived. It's going to be spotty in coverage. It's not going to be widespread. You're going to get a little bit increase in the winds. You're going to get hail up to maybe an inch and maybe a little tornado risk. You move up to the slight, which is level 2. And again, those are short-lived, not widespread, but they're intense. They're a little bit more intense. You could get a couple tornadoes. You could get some strong winds, a lot of damage. You could have hail at least an inch, sometimes in isolated locations, 2 inches. You move up through the others, you got enhanced, moderate, and high. We have had the high, I want to say last year. We've also had the moderate, which is the red, this year. So again, we are increasing in our severity in this area for tornadoes, for thunderstorms, and anything can cause damage. The wind, the hail, the tornado, you know, you name it. We are just in a very dangerous area for storms, and anything can happen. And that's why it's so important that you prepare your house, you prepare yourselves, and you have a little bit of knowledge about where to go when there is something coming. All right, so heat warnings and watches. There's a heat watch or warning issued for any of the 3 conditions, 3 consecutive days with a maximum heat index of 100 to 105. If you have 2 consecutive days, maximum heat index of 105 to 110, or 1 day, just 1 day that's greater than 110 on the heat index would be an excessive heat watch or warning. For cold and snow, our threshold's -25, either temperature or wind chill. So this one's a little bit different than heat. So it's temperature or wind chill. You're going to get a winter weather advisory, 3 to 5 inches of snow in 12 hours, or a brief intense snow, which is at least 1 inch per hour. That will trigger a winter weather advisory. A winter storm watch warning, 6 inches of snow in 12 hours, or 8 inches or more in 24 hours. And then, of course, the blizzard watch, again, the winds, 35 miles per hour, and now reduced visibility under a quarter mile. Let's talk about wind a little bit. We have wind advisories all the time. I feel like this is one of our more frequent ones, both in the summer, fall, spring, and winter. So all seasons, wind is a problem in the Chicagoland area. A wind advisory is sustained winds of 31 to 39 or gusts of 46 to 57. It's usually issued when these conditions are expected within the next 12 to 36 hours. It becomes a watch when you have sustained winds of 40 plus or gusts of 58 plus, and those are issued 24 to 48 hours in advance to give a heads up. And then a high wind warning is sustained winds of 40 plus that are occurring or are imminent. So again, the watch is we could have it and there's a potential, but the warning means it's actually occurring or it's definitely going to occur. These are only issued when there's high confidence, usually within 12 to 24 hours. Severe thunderstorms. A thunderstorm is classified as severe if it meets at least one of the following. It has to have damaging wind gusts of at least 58 miles per hour or greater. Hail has to be at least 1 inch in diameter or the size of a quarter as a reference. And there has to be the possibility of tornadoes. So if there is a tornado, of course, we're going to do the warning. If there's any kind of strong rotation within the storm, then it could lead to a tornado. So often those are going to be upgraded automatically. So to give you an idea for hail, if the National Weather Service says it's base hail, sometimes they say base hail or just hail significant, it's going to be 1 inch. If it's considerable hail, if they use the word considerable when they mention hail, they're talking 1.75 inches. And if they use the word destructive hail, they're talking about 2.75 inches or greater. So our last storm, they did talk about destructive hail, and we did have some significant hail. So over 2 inches, 2.75 inches, that is a significant hail ball. All right, let's talk about some of the things we have here in the village. We do have a lightning warning system. We call it the Preparedness system. It is able to detect lightning up to 10 miles away. So why 10 miles? And the reason for 10 miles is because lightning can actually strike from up to 10 miles away. So there have been incidents where there's a storm that's 10 miles away and someone was struck on a perfectly sunny day from 10 miles away, the storm being that far away. So the Perry weather system will trigger an alert if there is any storm that produces lightning within a 10-mile radius. You have a weather station on here, so it's constantly monitoring the weather. I have apps on my phone. I have notifications on my phone. I have an app on my computer, and it constantly alerts me and notifies me if there's any lightning in the area. It will sound an audible alarm. And I have immediate access also to an online meteorologist who I'm able to talk to and get some threat assessment information from so that we know what we're dealing with. These come in really handy when we have outdoor events, our Prairie Arts Festival, our September Fest events, anything like that. You know, as a safety precaution, if there's lightning within 10 miles, even though a lot of people don't like it, we do shut down the event because it could be a risk to our residents attending. So it is not a popular warning to go off because, you know, it might be a bright sunny day outside and everyone's enjoying Septemberfest, but there is the threat of severe weather 10 miles away. And if lightning's 10 miles away, out of precaution and a good safety margin, we do shut down the event for 30 minutes or until the all clear. So once an alert goes off with our lightning warning system, you do get an all clear after 30 minutes, and then the event can resume. This system not only detects lightning, but it also does heat advisories, wind advisories, and again, it does have an on-site weather station with a complete radar that we can access. So I do have a video here. Let me get my screen going here so you can hear what it sounds like. Let's see here.
Lightning has been detected in the surrounding area. Please seek shelter indoors. Lightning has left the area. You may continue outdoor activities.
All right, so pretty simple there. And I lost my PowerPoint. Hold on one second. Okay. And then we have outdoor warning sirens. Now, outdoor warning sirens, this one I want to stress. Outdoor warning sirens are not just placed outdoors, but they are only made for outdoor warnings. This is very important because I get a ton of phone calls on this every year. People say, Tracy, I can't hear the siren in my house. I can't hear it when I'm watching TV. It needs to be louder. You need to have more of them. Well, outdoor warning sirens are not designed to alert people indoors. They are only designed to alert people outdoors. They are not intended for you to hear over your TV or over the radio or inside the house. They're not intended to wake you up from a sleep. That's not what the design is for. They are only intended for people who are outside to alert them of severe weather. So there are other ways to get warnings for indoor, and those are our cell phones. You know, if you have the emergency alerts set for your cell phones, all cell phones have the ability, they're called wireless emergency alerts, or we call them WIAs. You can go into your settings. You can make sure that those are activated. So if there is a severe thunderstorm, a tornado in the area, your phone will activate and alert you. The other way is obviously social media, the news, the radio. If you're in the geographic area, there are different methods. If you don't have any of those, I highly recommend you get a weather radio. There's weather radios that you can set for your specific location. And if there is a warning within that area, the weather radio will automatically activate and alert you inside your house. There are tons of different ways you can get alerts, but this one, the outdoor warning siren, is only intended for outdoor use. They activate with the National Weather Service tornado warning polygons. So they're activated by our dispatch center. And wherever the National Weather Service draws the polygon, those little shapes on the map, that is where they are activated. So if there is a siren within that shape, that siren is going to be activated. I need to stress this. I do not control the outdoor warning sirens. I do not set them off. I do not have a magic button to turn them off. They are annoying. You know, there was, I want to say 3 years ago, we had a whole week where I'm thinking the sirens went off probably no short of 15 times. And it was day after day after day. They just repeatedly went off. And somebody called and said, Tracy, can you turn off the sirens? And I said, I'd love to, but number one, they're going off for a reason. There is a tornado threat. Or number two, I don't have the button. I don't have the button to turn them off. So these are not in my control. These are activated automatically by our dispatch center. And even there, they're activated by the National Weather Service when the warning polygon is put on the map. They do not just go off for tornadoes. This is another distinction. So tornadoes is what we're used to, but they also can go off for 70-mile-per-hour sustained wind gusts. And we just added that as one of the precautions after our 2017 straight line wind event, because if you're having winds that are at least 70 miles per hour and they're sustained wind gusts, that they're just consistently battering an area, that is enough for people to need to go in and seek shelter, because 70-mile-an-hour winds can lift up tents, they can lift up furniture, they can lift up a number of things. They could take tree limbs and they can throw them across the road. They still become a significant risk. And the purpose of the outdoor warning siren is to give people advance notice and to help them seek shelter. So that is why we added 70-mile-per-hour sustained wind gusts. So let's talk about, where do you go in a tornado? I apologize, it's cut off at the top. But in a tornado, you want to stay off the top floors. So the top floors are a no-no. You want to get as low as possible. If you do have a basement, that is probably the best place to go. You can go on any side in any room in the basement. The most protection obviously would be the interior, but anywhere in the basement is good. No place outside is safe from a tornado. Exterior rooms and rooms with windows do not protect you. So you can see on this graphic here, the big X's on the exterior rooms, this is the ground. So you're talking this, the part with the 3 green check marks, that's the basement. Those are all safe. But ground level, so this 1-story house here, the outer rooms are not your best locations. And that's because if wind comes in and destroys this wall, you're still exposed, okay? So if it takes an exterior wall, you're still going to be exposed. They recommended interior room. Interior rooms, including bathrooms, are good. Closets are good. If you want to go under a stairwell at the center of a house, as long as the stairwell is at the center of a house, that is a great location. Stairwells are often reinforced. So at my old house, I had an access door underneath the stairwell, and I crawled in there one time during a tornado because that was my best location. I had no basement. It was isolated. You want to stay in an interior area that is good in case there's flying debris. If there is a tornado that takes down the exterior portion of your house, you want to still have some kind of walls, some kind of protection around you to prevent getting hit with flying debris. So those would be the best locations. What about if you're outside? So what if you're in a car? Seek shelter in a building or underground. So if you're in a car, the best thing to do is pull over, find a location you can run in, a business, a store, Walmart, Target, anywhere you can seek shelter, a school. More than likely, people are going to let you in and people are going to help you find safety. If you're caught in extreme winds and debris and you can't seek shelter in a building or underground, park the car outside of traffic. I don't agree with staying in the car, but put head down below the windows, cover your head and hands or blanket or coat, and only leave the car if you can safely get noticeably lower than the level of the road. So I like this slide and I hate this slide because what they really tell you is if you could get out of the car and get lower than where the car is, you should do it. So staying in a car, cars go airborne all the time. They take flight, they love to fly in tornadoes, and they are not recommended for safety in a tornado if you're caught outside. You should always seek shelter in a building. Always. If you can't seek shelter in a building, find a location that's lower to the ground than the car is, if possible. So we're talking about a ditch. If there's a ditch on the side of the road, lay in the ditch. You're better laying in the ditch outside than you are being in the car. The car is going to get lifted with the winds, with the updraft. Whereas if you're lower in the ground, you're so low below, like if there's a huge ditch, you're so low beneath that ground level that the suction might not even go that low. Okay, so you're better off getting in a ditch than you are staying in a car. One of the things they tell, or I should say a myth that people say, is to get into an underpass, go under an underpass, and that is not recommended. That actually used to be some safety advice. People used to say, if you're outside, find an underpass, get underneath it, hold on, and you'll be safe. That's some kind of shelter. It's a sturdy structure. That is no longer the case. So what they found in an underpass is that it creates a wind tunnel effect with increased suction, and it actually can suck you right out of the underpass. That is not what you want to do. As much as Hollywood is fake, my next slide here has the movie Twisters. I'm sure a bunch of people have seen Twisters, but this scene that I'm about to show you is 100% accurate on what it can do if you go under an underpass or an overpass.
What did you steal?
Oh,
Secrets.
it's just a commercial. Hold on a sec.
We're also, you need to, this video is doing the same thing the earlier one is, where I'm
I
still.
know. I'm getting there. There's too many buttons. All right. So that is. Can you see this one?
You're all good.
All right. It's just a commercial. Give it a second. This is what you shouldn't do, by the way. This is not the location you want to be in. We talked about the suction, right? just like that. So that is 100% accurate. You should never, and I think I was saying underpass, overpass. You should never take shelter in an overpass for that reason alone. All right. So what do? Do this instead. You see this guy with a colander on his head. While he looks goofy, this is actually recommended now. So if you are in your house and you do not have a helmet, this is something that they recommend just to protect your head.
Tracy, I'm sorry. We're still on the video.
Oh my goodness. I'm horrible at this.
No, you're doing amazing at it.
Hold it. All right. How about now?
You're all good.
Okay, which is funny because I'm probably going to switch over to the video here again. But the guy with the colander on his head, 100% accurate. Okay, so let me switch over before I screw this up again. Can we see it?
Yes, you're good.
All right.
Amazing video of a massive tornado. It looks like a Hollywood special effect, but it's the real thing. Gosh. With tornado season at its height, what would you do to survive a deadly twister like this? Chances are what you've been told to do is all wrong. We used to hear that you should head into a bathtub if a tornado is approaching. Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
It's a bad idea because bathtubs used to be made out of cast iron.
Tornado expert Warren Bailey says bathtubs used to make good shelters, but these days they're too flimsy to be any help in a storm. But you'd be surprised what does help. What is the first thing we need to do if a tornado is approaching and we're in the kitchen?
You want to find something to cover your head with.
Okay.
And if you don't have a helmet, some kind of helmet, it's the next best thing.
A colander.
That'll do it.
And just put it over your head
That will protect your
and
head.
seek shelter.
Right on top and go.
Then find a windowless room.
Okay, this is the interior room. This is the safest place you could be in this house right now if there's a tornado threatening. You want to take whatever you have. It's a helmet, colander, it's a pot, iron, anything you have. You want to put it over your head and get down as low as possible.
But what if you're caught outside in a tornado? Many people have been told for years to seek shelter under an overpass, like these guys in this heart-stopping 1991 video. New research shows it may be the worst thing you can do.
People used to think this was the perfect tornado shelter, an underpass. You get these giant columns of concrete and all this above you to protect you, but it's turned out it is not. It can be a death trap.
Why?
If you were up there in those girders, the wind would be so high that it would literally suck you out of here.
So you're actually in more danger underneath one of these overpasses.
You are in more danger, believe it or not.
A little culvert or ditch like this may be a safer option.
Lay flat, get down, and cover your head if you can. And hopefully the winds will go right above you.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Let me figure out the screen share here. All right. So that concludes my presentation. I have 2 minutes. So great timing. I have a couple of minutes. If anyone wants to stay after, I am more than happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Tracy, thank you so much for all that wonderful information. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to throw them in the Q&A. While we wait for any of those questions, I know, Cassandra, you had something like a thing you wanted to say at the end if you wanted to hop back on.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank the Schaumburg Township District Library for helping us make this Speakers Bureau possible. We have more great presentations planned throughout the summer, so stay tuned. And to learn more about the program and upcoming sessions, visit schaumburg.com/speakersbureau. That's all I've got.
I'm not seeing any questions, so I think we'll wrap up and I'll get you all off on the rest of your day. And just to jump off of what Cassandra had said, if you guys are enjoying the Speakers Bureau, you're getting an after action email with a link to the recording of today's session, as well as links to register for the next 2 sessions for our June and July session in this series. So we will see you all next time and have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.